Hello, Rob138 here for the Man-Made Monstercast. So, before we get into the interview with Miss Rebekah Kennedy, I thought you all would like to know the chaos that preceded the interview. So, I'm on a bit of a vacation right now. Staycation, really. I woke up very early and played Ghostbusters. Awesome. And then I was like, well, I got work to do. Let me get set up for the interview. So I hop on, I make some graphics, etc., etc., etc. Everything's fine. I break for lunch. I throw Two Witches on just to, catch myself up on it. Come back over to set everything up, and my brand new gaming monitor blows out. So I'm obviously in a panic because we're about 2 hours before we have to do this interview, and I don't know what to do. I could not find anywhere with a replacement power supply, not even knowing if it was the power supply. I called my good buddy Cracker Octopus, who performs Dead Air, the intro to the Man-Made Monstercast, and he was gracious enough to bring me a monitor to use. And I was also very lucky that he happened to get off work early, otherwise been completely screwed. So, get that all set up. I installed the update for Zoom, and it resets everything. Absolutely everything. Nothing was working. My speakers, my audio, nothing. All of it gone. So, Cracker Octopus coming through once again. Spent about an hour on Zoom with me, troubleshooting over and over and over again. Right up to about 12 minutes, I would say, before I was supposed to be on the call with Rebekah. So, fast forward those 12 minutes. I get on the call with Rebekah, who also has to install the Zoom update. And none of her video will work. Like, I can't make this stuff up, guys. Hilarity, chaos. It's what we do. It's where we thrive. Adapt. So we did. By using other equipment. So, cool. Eventually, Rebekah was able to join with video, and we had a little cameo from her cat. But I think it was a good interview. Had a lot of fun. So, hopefully you guys enjoy. Welcome to the Man-Made Monstercast. It's a very special episode. I am your host, Rob138. Today, I have a very special guest. She has acted alongside Nick Cage and Ron Perlman, as well as genre legends like Mark Singer. However, today, she's here to talk about her brand new film, Two Witches. I'm here today with the incomparable, incredible, and all-around super awesome Miss Rebekah Kennedy. Hello, Rebekah.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That was so lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us. So love the film. Today, fourth watch for me.
Oh wow, thank you so much.
Super love it. I've recommended it to just about everybody who will listen to me talk about it. So
That's amazing.
With that said, I just wanted to jump right into maybe some early stuff in your career. I read that you started acting around age 12 for the stage. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like what made you want to act?
So I remember, when I was 4, my mom took me to see my first stage play. Also, I apologize in advance if you hear my cat in the background because
You're probably going to hear mine too. No big deal.
Crazy now, of course, as soon as I start this interview. So my mom took me to see my first play when I was 4, and I don't really remember the play or anything like that or what prompted me. I just remember looking at her and saying, I want to do that. I want to be on the stage with them. And at the time, my mom was like, yeah, sure. Like, you're 4, like, what do you know, kind of thing. And kind of, didn't really take it too seriously. And then as time went on, I kept kind of bugging her about it. And finally, when I was 12, I didn't make the cheerleading team, the cheerleading squad at my school. And so finally, my mom was like, all right, you still want to try this acting thing? And I was like, yes. So she found me like a local children's group that, everybody that wanted to be in it could be in it. And, to see if this was actually something I wanted to do, because it's very different from wanting to do something and actually doing it. Because, it's like, I could hate it. I could not be good. There's many things that could have happened. So we tried that and I just fell in love. I just fell in love with it. And that was it. I literally I have not stopped acting since. Obviously have transitioned into film and TV, but that was literally the start, and I haven't stopped since.
That's awesome. Speaking of your transition, you've had television roles on things like Law and Order, Criminal Minds, and Station 19, where you played kind of arguably more sweet and decidedly less creepy roles. What brought you to the world of horror? Were you a fan of horror before you became an actor?
I have been. I watched my first horror film when I was 11, which was the It miniseries,
Okay.
and I loved it. And that was kind of my introduction to horror. And then I just fell in love, and I've been watching it ever since. I never imagined that I would be acting in horror films. Like that wasn't necessarily like, oh, I want to act in horror when I was young. It just that's kind of what happened. Happened to be the first things I kind of booked when I first started out. And so, it's been so lovely. I love the genre. I love acting in it. So it kind of worked out in my favor. Just wasn't something I necessarily was like, I want to be in horror films. But I'm glad that that is what I have, been able to do along with, other things that you mentioned as well. It's kind of worked out to in my favor.
Yeah, I think the horror bug usually bites us when we're young. As listeners of the podcast know, I was a monster kid. I remember sitting on the floor with my dad watching the Munsters and the Addams Family and the classic Universal monster movies. And horror is just, it's once it gets you, it's very easy to fall in love with.
Absolutely. And there's so many subgenres. There's so many, if you don't like slashers, there's, supernatural, there's all different kinds of things for different fans, that's what's amazing about it is you can find something for everybody within that genre.
Yeah, it's super inclusive, the community and the genre as a whole. Two Witches. I read that this was kind of a last minute casting for you. How did it all come about?
Yeah, so they needed to fill the role. And Christina, who plays Rachel, my roommate in the film, who's lovely, lovely actor and lovely person, recommended me to the director. She sent me the script and was like, hey, we're needing to film Masha. Would you take a look at the script and see what you think? And I read it and I immediately was like, yes, I'm in. Like I've never played a witch before. I've never played someone so evil. And just, being able to dive into that and find the different layers of her and the different, I was really excited to be able to do that. And so I was like, yes, please send the director my materials. She sent him my stuff and that was it. Like we talked and then shortly it was during Thanksgiving break. And when I came back, we started shooting. So pretty much a couple days after I got back. So it was kind of a quick, like I said, quick into it. But it was kind of nice because Masha is kind of someone that is thrown into this world that she doesn't really totally understand. So it felt a little chaotic for me, which I think worked for her too.
So the film was in production during the pandemic, was it not?
Yes, we started before the pandemic, but we finished during.
How did that affect? How did that affect everything as an actor?
It's interesting because we were working, especially near the end, we were working with some older actors. So, for instance, some of the scenes, especially the one at the very end in the coven, we filmed all of that separately. So when I filmed my part, there was actually no one else in there with me. So Pierre the director would tell me, okay, a witch is over here now. She's above, she's over here, and like where to look, and how to, what I needed to react to, what was coming in. And he did so beautifully, edited it together where you would never know that we were not in the same room. But so that were some of the challenges for sure. Shooting during the pandemic was making sure that everybody was safe. And, that was ultimately the top priority is that everyone felt safe and comfortable. But also, hopefully not impacting the final product too much as well.
Yeah, that ending scene was super, super creepy. And I would have never guessed that it was filmed separately, especially the film really relies more on practical effects. Mm-hmm. And not so much there's a cardboard head right here, look at it, this is the thing, like with a lot of CGI, which a lot of modern films, like I understand from a cost effective standpoint it works, but I feel like you really lose the intimacy of interacting with something at that point.
Yeah. Say for that scene, like you said, a lot of the movie was practical effects, which is great because then that gives you that thing to look at, that thing to interact with, which, only helps the performance because you're not having to imagine what it would look like, which, just in turn helps a lot.
Speaking of things to look at and things to interact with, your facial expressions as Masha are the contortions and all of it are some of the most unsettling things that I've ever seen. First, I had a question about the whitening of the eyes. Was that CG or were those full contacts? Okay,
No, that was CG. Yeah.
okay, because those
That was
contacts are I've worn them before. They're very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was really thankful that I didn't have to wear them, that it was done post, because I feel like that would have been another challenge to overcome as far as like, being uncomfortable and like trying to work with that. And I don't wear contacts. I've worn them once in a film and it took a very long time to get them in my eyes. So I was thankful that we could just do it practically or do it CGI for that moment.
So, what was your process of finding like those facial expressions, and to a greater extent, how did you find Masha, so to speak?
That's a great question. Pierre and I worked a lot on set as far as what the faces that I would do. Especially like the beginning scene. We in the moment he would be like, okay, pull something like this, and then I would try it. It's like, okay, do something like this, and we would just try to see what would work. Because it's like I could practice before, but you don't really know what's going to sell until you're looking through the lens, until you're looking in the monitor and seeing what actually, is creepy and, how much to do, pull back. It's interesting because there's a scene at the scene at the beginning. I do a face and someone mentioned that, oh, that's, prosthetics. I'm like, no, that's actually just me. No prosthetics were used except for the very end, obviously when I'm burned, that obviously is prosthetics. But yeah, so finding that in the moment was really fun and freeing, and just trusting Pierre, the director, that it's my cat. She's like, I want to be the star of this. Finding the moment and trusting him that whatever we find will work, because I'm not looking, I can't see what he
Right.
sees. So it was fun to kind of contort and figure out how to be as creepy as possible, and how I could creep out my scene partner the most was kind of my objective for a lot of the film. And a lot of the scenes was like, how can I make them the most uncomfortable possible? So finding her was interesting in that, because no villain thinks they're a villain, right? Everyone is the hero of their own story. So from the outside perspective, if, as Rebekah, I can say that yes, she is not a good person. Perhaps just very lost and lonely and misunderstood, perhaps, if you want to look at it that way. But as Masha, she's not the villain. She does what she does in order to make her life better in her eyes and to survive, and to be, she's just someone that desperately wants to be noticed and seen. And so I as an actor come in to her that way, come into her through a lens of that, instead of just looking at her as someone who is evil, because that's that there she is. You see her behind.
Cameo.
Yeah, she's really in true form today. So looking at her in that can't even concentrate now. I mean,
This is fantastic.
This is fantastic.
When
not
you
interested in
when you
this
consider,
yet.
not to derail the question, but when you consider all of the chaos and even setting this up today, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Really, I'm surprised she hasn't turned on the keyboard and just started playing it. It's just, she's absurd. That's what we do with on set, right? Like all the chaos of things that happen, and you still have to be able to concentrate and do your job. So now if people are only listening, they have to go look at the YouTube video to see what we're talking about.
Exactly, and that's
you can just
how
see
we
the
get
tail
views.
behind me.
Well, On the subject of Masa's character, I love that the film plays with themes of heritage and family and maybe destiny, and to a degree, kind of discovering oneself. Masha sort Masha sort of starts off very shy and quiet, is maybe not sure of the path that she's on, and layers kind of fall away, and she sort of embraces and sort of almost revels in what she becomes. I felt
Mhm.
like that might have been an allegory for finding your own identity, especially in today's society. Was that the intent, or am I completely overanalyzing the entire thing?
No, I don't think you're overanalyzing at all. I love that, different people are going to see different, have different perspectives of what they feel like it says. That absolutely is accurate. And, we as people obviously don't have powers. Well, some people might, but, I do not. But, you are in life trying to figure out where you belong, where you fit in. I think a lot of us can relate to the fact of feeling like we're not seen, and wanting desperately to someone to notice us, good or bad. She unfortunately takes the maybe not so good road to do it, but I think that is very much accurate to finding yourself and coming into your own and finding your own power, whether it be good or bad. I can say, I think she's pretty badass, as far as finding that and owning it and not apologizing for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, there were several scenes. I'm just kind of like, oh, but you know what? Get it, go girl, get it. um, I know you've had past experiences with genre films like Season of the Witch, House Hunting, and Bastard. Which, by the way, Bastard is impressively hard to track down.
Yeah, it didn't used to be. I don't know. I know you can still. I think you can still buy it on Amazon.
I
But
looked.
yeah,
I was trying to find a digital or something. I could not find it because I remember it was on my radar when it released because it was part of the, I think, 8 Films to Die For.
Buzz. Yes, yes.
But I never grabbed a copy when I found it, and now I can't find it because I wanted to watch it in preparation for this interview today. But
Well, I will definitely see if I can get you a copy
oh,
to be able to watch it.
awesome! I
Yeah,
would appreciate that.
yeah.
That being said, True Witches is looking to be kind of like your breakout role, and it's kind of pushing you into the scream queen territory, as it were. Some actors embrace that. Others run from it because they're afraid of being typecast. Do you have any similar concerns with respect to potentially being typecast, or do you embrace the moniker of Scream Queen?
I I think I said this. I think in another interview. The second word in that is cast. So I'm not too worried about being typecast in a certain way because it's work, right? Work is work is work, and work begets work. And there's so many actors that start out in one thing, like Chris Pratt, for instance, for many many years played the goofy best friend, or the douchebag friend, kind of thing. So and now he's playing very different roles. So I'm not too concerned about being seen as one thing because also all the films you mentioned, all the roles are very different as well. So it might be within the same genre of horror, but they're all kind of different subgenres. Like House Hunting was psychological, Bastard was more of a slasher. This is I don't know, even a more, like a witch tale. I'm not even sure really the best, it's not really a slasher, it's not really psychological, but it, fits in there nicely. So, and all these roles have been so different as well. And roles that I have coming up that are also within the horror genre are totally different from these. So I'm not too worried about it. I take it, as a compliment if someone wants to call me that, because there have been many wonderful scream queens that have come before us, and so to be even somewhat lumped into that group is an honor, really. So.
I know I, for one, welcome you with open arms. Scream Queen for life.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
What was, and probably going to jump into spoiler territory. It's what we do here on the Monstercast. Okay. What was the most difficult scene for you to do in Two Witches, and why?
Oh, that's a great question. So ironically, one of the harder scenes was when I show up at Rachel's mom's house. Um, because a lot of the things weren't there. Like I didn't work with the bunny. Rachel filmed her stuff later under the table. Like a lot of this stuff wasn't there. So it was like, and I for some reason, it's funny because it's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie, ironically. I just felt very on set. I felt very just like chaotic and out of sorts and out of, and I don't know why. I filmed so much of the movie already. Like this was near the end, so I'm not sure why I felt so just out of my element. But also, I think Masha is also feeling that way too. Like she is, coming in with this confidence, but it's, a put on too, like she is trying to be this thing now that she feels like she should be. So I think I felt a little bit of that when I was filming, of like, oh, this feels put on, but I mean, not to say that it works, but I think it works in the movie. But that was funny because that day I remember telling Pierre afterwards, like, we need to reshoot that scene. Like it felt so, he's like, what are you talking about? It's great. I'm like, no, it felt so awful when I was doing it. But as an actor, it's a good lesson because what we feel is often not what is actually seen, So that was probably one of the more challenging, I think, just because of all the things that weren't there and the different shifts in the scene. And it was a long scene as well. And we shot a lot of that long takes. So it's just making sure that all those beats hit and working with, like I said, working with things that weren't there and like, does it work? So yeah, I think that was probably, ironically, you would think I would say the first scene of mine, but that was not as difficult, only because not only, but my scene partner Jacob was so amazing that he made that scene actually very comfortable and easy to do.
Yeah, that's something that I always wondered. Like, I can't put myself in that headspace of being in scenes like that, that vulnerable with people, especially like coworkers. I don't know, but that is part of the acting trade, so it's not for me to understand. But I always wondered that. What was your favorite scene, conversely?
Oh, that's a good question too. I mean, ironically, I do like the scene we were just talking about a lot. Even though that ended up being the more challenging, the one I felt the worst about, ended up being one of my favorites. I mean, there's so many, I mean, I hate to say like, oh, so many great scenes, but that just feels like
there were though.
But I had so much fun in that scene with Danielle. It was so great. I had a great time working with Christina, especially when we were when she's telling me the story, and also when she comes back and accuses me of stealing her story. Like that was really fun. I got to work with my good friend Lindsay Naves in the office scene. She played Rachel's coworker. That scene was really fun to film because it was just like, how can I make her the most uncomfortable possible? And Lindsay's so great in it. And also the teeth was fun. Like I don't know, like it all was, I don't really have just like one favorite because they were all had different special moments that were really fun to film.
I really enjoyed the bathroom scene, which the teeth scene. It's weirdly like this super awful evil version of almost female empowerment at some point with Masha. And again, your facial expressions and the contortions, just deeply unsettling. Loved it.
Well, thank you. That was also challenging as well because so much of that was like practical, with the teeth, and it was just like, does this gonna work? Does this like look weird? Is it too much? That scene was also particularly, I feel like, challenging when we were actually filming because I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to edit together. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
The part where you put your hands in your mouth just before the teeth happened, for my second viewing, I had friends over. I was like, you guys gotta watch this. And I just wanted to see their reactions because like what's coming. And when you put your hands in your mouth, like, oh no. But I love it.
Yeah, and she's so great at Megan as well. So made it easy.
So Arrow Video, they've got a pretty strong reputation amongst genre film fans for being like the creme de la creme when it comes to releases. How important were they when they got on board for Two Witches?
I mean, to be honest, as an actor, I didn't work with them initially, but I think I was so excited that they were signing on to distribute the film because I think they're really been behind it. They've really been pushing it out there, which is amazing because more and more people are seeing it than maybe would have if we had a distributor that didn't care as much. I love that they are so passionate about the film and love the film and are really pushing for people to see it. And not just, it's like sometimes you get, it's like, oh, it's released and then you never hear from them again kind of
Right.
thing. But they've, continually been sharing, they just shared more photos today. They've been continually being pushing it. So more and more people are finding the film and it's really cool to be a part of the Arrow video universe. They have such great stuff on their platform. So it's really cool to be in that on that site.
I know I'm a huge Arrow fan, and physical media is the way to go. Everybody, physical media.
Well, I love, absolutely love the art design that they did, and the DVD looks amazing, or Blu-ray DVD looks amazing. So pleased with how all of that came out. So it's just like I have it ordered for myself because I'm like, oh, definitely have to have a copy of that for sure.
There was a secondary poster that I think that was just released. It's actually it's on the booklet in the physical edition that's like purple and green, and I
Mhm.
absolutely adore it. And I have to find a version of this poster so I can put it on my wall if I have space. I got Bride of Frankenstein there and Friday the 13th, all kinds of stuff. But the art is incredible. It needs to be hung on
Yeah.
walls.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, they well, we'll talk. I can always get you a copy if you need if you can't find it. But yeah, the artwork is just for the movie is just I think it's just incredible.
I'll edit that part out. I do have a couple of questions from some listeners.
Okay.
Two Witches has some flavors of some all-time classic horror films like Rosemary's Baby, The Evil Dead, and Suspiria. It kind of also straddles the line of classic folk horror and then modern contemporary kind of horror. So, with that said, this listener wanted to know your favorite horror film.
Oh, that's great. It's so hard to answer favorite because I feel like I'm picking a favorite child. It's like you have so many that you love, and it's hard to pick one. But I guess if I have to pick one, which is very different from all of those ones you just mentioned, but I think my all time favorite. I have many, so this is just one of many. Would be The Sixth Sense. I think that's one of my favorites. It's not necessarily maybe a traditional horror, but it just like the combination of the performances, the twist, the writing, the direction, the gorgeous cinematography, like just it all just works so beautifully. And even when you watch it, the twist. I still feel like I catch things that maybe I didn't see the first time I watched it or the last time I watched it. It just works so well. And just, I mean, Haley Joel Osment's performance is just truly, I mean, I don't know of can't hardly think of any other child actor that young that could convey that kind of fear and that kind of emotion where you like fully believe that this kid sees this stuff. Like it's not an act. It's not, I mean, he just is so incredible. And it's rare that I cry watching a horror film, and that's one that when I watch I still get emotional because he is just so brilliant. But I also love The Conjuring and Insidious and Sinister and all the ones you mentioned, going back to like The Exorcist and The Shining and just like all of those. I love all of this. I mean, really, like I'll watch anything.
Right.
But if I have to pick a favorite, that is one of them.
Yeah. So The Sixth Sense, I feel like when it came out, it did a whole lot of things that weren't being done at the time. It was dripping with atmosphere. It's also got one of the all-time creepiest, memorable lines with "I see dead people," which I would argue "You're in the dark now" also sits very nicely next to me.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I really feel like he turned some things for the genre, and to be recognized by the big awards is not heard of often for those kind of films. So that it was just really remarkable turn for I think.
Absolutely. So another question here. It actually looks like it's a two-parter. Um, you've already had roles alongside pretty impressive group of actors. You could act opposite any actor in the past and the present. Who would it be and why?
Like the past is in like not no longer alive, or
Sure, let's go with that.
or past is in like
Maybe retired, because Rick Moranis is retired, and I think Joe Pesci is retired. And
right. I guess we'll go with like alive or dead, maybe.
Sure.
I'd say the alive. I mean, again, so many actors. It's so hard to choose. I have a list of actors like I would die just to be in the same room with. But one of the top ones would be Meryl Streep for me, for sure. I feel like she just transforms in any role. She is different, and yet like there's still an authenticity and a truth to it, yet she's not just playing herself. Going from like the really deep emotional stuff to even like Devil Wears Prada, where it seemingly could have been a fluffy movie with a role that was whatever, but yet she was just so captivating and so such a boss lady as well, and such a brilliant performance, where you just can't take your eyes off her. She's one that, I mean, even if I was just in the same room with her, that would be lovely. And I can just imagine working off her would just be just really easy. As far as someone maybe no longer here, there's again so many wonderful actors. A couple I would say would be Heath Ledger and Robin Williams for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of both. So
yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger, I feel like obviously his career was cut very short. Love to have seen what he could have done had he not passed away. But looking back at his work is just brilliant, and the risks he took, and like let's say the Joker, for instance, and daring to step into territory that maybe hadn't been fully explored yet within the superhero genre, and making him feel like not to say the other Jokers in the past were not wonderful, they're all different, but he just made it such a person that I feel like could be real,
right.
And kind of stepped out of the cartoon thought, and it was like, okay, this person could exist in this world now, and just and then Robin Williams, I mean, what can you not say about him? I mean, he's just so obviously a genius. That would have been remarkable to watch him work.
Both men gone too soon.
Yes, too soon.
Losses.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some future projects. I know you've got The Veil coming up, The Unseen. Also, mm-hmm. I think it was announced yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. Sweet Molly.
Yes. What can you tell us
about any of these?
Yeah, so The Veil is a film that I shot in Pennsylvania earlier this year in March. And I can't say too much about it yet because I don't want to give anything away as far as the story. It is a thriller mystery, and I play a young Amish woman who shows up at a retired priest's house. And I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay.
And more to come for that one. I'm really excited for people to see it. I haven't seen a cut yet, but just from what we've been filming, I feel like it's really going to be really interesting, fantastic film from what I feel like. Not to toot my own horn or say that I'm great, but just the film itself, I think the writing and the directing and everybody involved was just incredible. So I'm excited for that one to come out. The Unseen, I shot in Chicago over the summer. It stars RJ Mitty from Breaking Bad, and he plays a lawyer who is struggling with his past. I shouldn't say who I play I play a character called Millie, but I shouldn't say how I'm involved in the story yet because it would be a spoiler. But I am excited for people to see that one too. It's a horror, but also has a good mystery that you're trying to figure out and trying to solve along the way. Great cast, great crew. Really excited for people to see that one as well. Probably both of those will probably be out next year, I imagine. And then you just talked about Sweet Molly that was just announced. Basically, it's a horror sci-fi drama about a young woman who is in the FLDS religion, who astral projects and makes a chilling discovery, is what I can say about that one. So I'm excited to be filming that one next year. So,
awesome.
In Utah. So.
And I think that's on Kickstarter, I believe.
It is on Kickstarter. It's a short film. It's a amazing script. When I read it, I was just like floored and emotionally gutted. I don't want to say too much about the plot, but it deals with the Mormon religion and marrying trying to marry off girls that are too young to be married, and what that looks like. And so if people want to check it out, it's on Sweet Molly on Instagram. They have a link to their Kickstarter. We have about 19 days left to raise the rest of the money to get the short film made. The director also has a feature that he wants to make as well. So both of those scripts are just incredible. So really excited to be a part of the project.
Well, I will definitely be putting the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video. So
thank you so much. That would be amazing.
In closing, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to chat with me today. This whole thing kind of happened by accident. You actually reposted a post with like me gushing over 2 witches on Instagram, and you accidentally incorrectly tagged me and you messaged me to apologize, which wasn't necessary at all because who am I? And then we just got to chatting. I threw it out there. Hey, you want to talk about this in the podcast? And never thought you would say yes or even respond. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, wait, what?
You're like, wait, now I have to do it. No.
Yeah. I was like, wait, I got to learn how to interview somebody and like do stuff.
No, you're great. Thank you so much for all your support for the film, and the fact that you loved it. It just means so much to us. We made just a little movie and didn't know where it was going to go. So the fact that people are enjoying it just means a lot. And thank you for promoting it and putting it out there. And great interview. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I would love to have you back when The Veil and The Unseen release.
Yes, absolutely.
And one more question on the way out. When can we expect 3 witches?
Well, it's 2 Witches Part 2, but I do like the idea of 3 witches. The script is written, so we are looking to start in production. So I'm really excited to be revisiting Masha and playing her again and seeing where her powers will take her. And I also want to mention, just in case, where else you can see the film. Because if people don't have Arrow, it is now on Amazon, on Apple TV, on iTunes, and they're doing a flash sale where you can rent the movie for literally 99 cents. So
there's literally no reason not to watch
you
this
can't film. It can't get better than that. So people should definitely check it out.
And I, once again, being a huge physical media guy, would like to push the Blu-ray as well. So guys, girls, check out 2 Witches. It's phenomenal. Rebekah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.